Everyone, welcome back to episode 2 of the Mind and Matt podcast. I'm your host, Ian McKillop, and I'm here with my co-host, Neima. How are you doing today, man?
What's up, guys? I'm
I'm
great.
loving the shirt you have on, by the way.
Hey, man. I'm just repping the iMac brand. That's it.
Yeah, if you guys are wondering, I was hanging out with him on Sunday when we were watching all the games. Went to go see Doctor Strange together, and we saw Bucks and Celtics together, and also whatever happened in Phoenix. We will talk about that later, but to start off the pod, we wanted to talk about some MCU stuff. We're going to start talking about Moon Knight, Doctor Strange. We'll talk about Avatar for a bit, and then the NBA playoffs. So just for this first section, do you have your? There's a spoiler warning, obviously, because we'll be talking about Doctor Strange, as I said, and Moon Knight. So if you haven't watched it, I suggest you watch it first and come back to this, because we're going to dive deep into spoilers. So let's start with Moon Knight. I think we can both actually agree on this, as that Moon Knight is easily the best Disney Plus show that the MCU has had. What are your overall thoughts about Neema? Just base thoughts.
So, my base thoughts on the show was with what they had in 6 episodes, they portrayed Moon Knight perfectly, in my opinion. I think, right, it's hard for even people to have a season, there are 2 seasons, 3 seasons to really get to the character, but we were able to get to the character, both characters,
Yeah.
Stephen and Mark. And on top of that, Jake at the end. So
Oh
so
my
we're
God.
seeing all these characters and they all have their backstory and it all kind of intertwines perfectly in the show. And I think they just kind of nailed this idea of who and what Moon Knight can do.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Like, I've seen a lot of Marvel comics, but I didn't know that much about Moon Knight, to be honest. So I knew basically nothing going into the show about him. So when I'm seeing this, there's this like mirror dimension self of him. I was like, oh, it's some like Doctor Strange thing that they're kind of like trying to star Doctor Strange and everything. But the more the show goes on, the more you realize that it's probably more than that. And then of course when they reveal that it's more of a dissociative identity disorder that
Yeah.
Mark has, not Steven, but Mark has. Like that whole scene with his when he's in the house with his mother, and then
Yeah.
when his with his brother as well when he dies was honestly I was like I did not see this coming in this type of series. Because when I started off the series, first episode was a bit confusing, I'd say. I think it did a good job of keeping me, or at least me, for me at least, just kind of off balance. I'm like, where's the show going? What's happening? This guy's like having blackouts, and then he's waking up, and he's just, went full James Bond on the joint, basically. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I was like, what's happening? Does this guy like not know he's a superhero? Like, you just assume these guys, know it and do it if they already have it. But, after that first episode, I'm like, what is happening? At first, like I gotta be honest. At first, I wasn't really sold on it. But then, because I was confused. I guess as a viewer, when you're seeing something new for the first time and you're confused, you tend to not like it. But I think that's actually where the show shines, in my opinion. Watching it back a second time was that kind of confusion, not like a lot of stuff in today's media really just kind of throw it all out there to you, really.
Yeah.
I mean, like, there's no, like, kind of secret, it doesn't feel secretive. It just kind of is like, oh, here's this plot point and here's the next one. But this one it really kept me on my toes. And I just was very confused, as I said. But, throughout the show, one of the things that was still confusing me to the end was when both guys essentially blacked out. And you were talking about Jake Lockley,
Yeah.
that character, because I was like, wait, like they're still blacking out, and it's the season finale. They don't know who did what. I'm like, what's going on? Like, do they just not know? And so the Jake Lockley reveal at the end, I thought was really good. And that I guess like I did read some more stuff on it because I was just really interested in the character itself, and it's more of like Jake Lockley is where Khonshu takes Mark and just really kind of pieces him up into his, I guess, his merciless side. What would you say? I would say
Yeah.
like, yeah, I would say his merciless side. And obviously at the end of the show, Khonshu says like, "Oh, you're released and everything," but he
Yeah.
obviously really wasn't. He really wasn't at all. So, but other than the story, I thought the CG was great. I thought Arthur Harrow was a great villain. Him and Amit were, I thought, really solid.
Yeah.
I like the whole balancing of the scales thing, and like I think that was a really cool idea. I thought the CGI was incredible, to be honest.
That was
Like,
outstanding.
yeah, I completely agree. I mean, you've got all the obviously Moon Knight himself. I love the also in Moon Knight. I love how Mark has like the full like hero cape thing going, and then Mark's
Yeah,
like this guy with a with a suit on basically.
yeah, yeah. I love that about Moon Knight.
Yeah,
Uh,
and that was great. What was your favorite personality? I'd say I think mine was. I gotta say I like Steven because I just like because he was like me, all confused and not knowing what the hell's going on.
yeah. I didn't mind Steven. I like Steven. Steven, it took time for me to accustom to Steven because in the beginning, right, you're watching and Steven is just this klutzy guy that is scared of everything.
Hmm.
And when Mark comes to him in that first episode towards the end, where he's telling Steven, hey, look at me. We're not gonna die here. You gotta hear me out. You gotta let me take control. And Steven is just everywhere. I think he was so everywhere for me that I was like, okay, Steven, Mark is the cool guy here, right? He knows how to control this Moon Knight suit. He is just going in there, not pulling any punches. And Steven, when he's fighting, right, that first fight scene he has,
Yeah.
he's getting his ass beat.
Hmm.
I mean, he can't handle the guy, and Mark is just pleading with him, like, dude, you gotta let me take control. But as time went on, and finally you realize Steven is just a different personality. Then he realizes. I kind of liked how he realized
Yeah.
that he says, "Wait, if I'm just a personality, I should be able to do what Mark can do,
Right.
right? Because Mark can control the suit." And Steven always thought that he was his own person, and that trauma was so much after his mother died that he just completely became Steven. And I think once Steven realized, oh, I'm part of this body, then you see at the end he was not pulling any punches. He was
Right.
taking them down, and I would say my favorite part of the show. But to answer your question, Mark is my
Yeah.
favorite.
Yeah. I figured that after that.
Mark is just he just knows what the hell's going on. My favorite part, I'd say, of this 6-part series was once we got into the action,
Hmm.
and Khonshu is saying, "Hey, I'm going to risk my life in a way because they're going to enslave him to get to the bottom of this and stop what they were trying to do."
Yeah. Stop on it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that it was a solid storyline. It was a very solid storyline, and that part alone, I liked, like, episode 4. Episode 4 was, the trauma episode, wasn't it? I'm
Yeah. It
pretty
was
sure
the
it was.
one. It was the hospital scene one. Yeah.
I enjoyed that episode. I don't know who I was talking maybe we were talking, uh, or maybe I was talking to Kyle, and I was saying we were talking about that scene, and there was something he didn't like about, Steven or how it happened,
Hmm.
but I think it was perfect. Because it was a very solid backstory, and this will go. We're going to talk about this in Strange, but this is the
Yeah.
same way I feel about Wanda. I think Kevin Feige and these guys are starting to realize they've just nailed the origin story kind of method in a
Hmm.
way, right? They used the notes because I knew Moon Knight before. He was one of my favorite MCU heroes, and I genuinely think they portrayed him perfectly for what they have.
Hmm.
And I think they've just found a way to take a story and really get to the root of that character because they're throwing a bunch of characters in the MCU.
Yeah. But
So
yeah, I think also one of the reasons I love Steven the most is because we really see the story through his eyes more than Mark's. Like
oh,
that's how the show starts, right? Is through Steven. And I think like Steven does a good job throughout the entire the entire maybe first season or the series. I don't know if they'll do another season or not. Hopefully they do. It'd be really cool if they do.
yeah, I hope
Uh,
they do too.
yeah, he'll definitely be in an MCU film at some point as well.
Oh, I think he's going to be there sooner rather than later. To be honest,
Yeah, I wouldn't
that's
be.
I think why they pushed the show. But I wanted to ask you, Oscar Isaac was a great cast for that.
He was
I,
incredible.
He's incredible. I
Like,
love how much he loves Disney,
mhm.
right? He's taking a bunch of roles in Star Wars, the MCU. He's playing in Into the Spider-Verse Part 1, right? As Spider-Man 2099.
Yep.
He's just taken this Disney route and just gone with it. And it's like, if it's not broken, don't try to fix it, right? He knows what he's got going on. And I really like that cast. So I wanted to get your idea of Oscar Isaac.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of stuff with Oscar Isaac. Whenever I see him, it's already a massive W, in my opinion. He's great. There's only one movie where I didn't like him in. It was this movie with Natalie Portman. God, what was the movie called? It was some like dumb sci-fi movie that me and my parents watched it. We were
Yeah.
like, worst movie ever. But other than that, he's great. I thought he was great in Star Wars, despite his character being written kind of horribly, in my opinion. But
Yeah, yeah, it's sure.
but I mean, obviously his acting is incredible. I thought, but this to me was one of his best performances because you know you're the idea of playing two roles can be very difficult. There's been a lot of things that I've watched where someone is playing like two roles of like a twin of themselves or a doppelganger or something, where
Yeah.
it can be either really good or really bad. But I think Oscar right here, it felt like I was, that hospital scene where you see two different guys basically. I feel like that they're actually two different people. It's
That's a good point.
it's not
That's a
like
really
you guys see two Oscar Isaacs. I see Steven and I see Mark because that's how good his acting was. He was incredible. I think all the acting all around was great. But I think Oscar obviously just took the cake with this one. He was incredible. Um,
yeah.
yeah, no, I think he was great. He was awesome.
No, he was great. He was it showed his range.
Yeah.
This show really showed his range because like you said, with having multiple characters that you're playing as, it can go well or it can go bad.
Hmm.
And he was able to have a distinguishing difference between Mark and Steven.
Yeah.
Like you said, I'm looking at these
More than
guys
just
and
the accent. More than just the accent as well.
yeah, more no, yeah, the accent, even without the accent, just their personalities, even to the mannerism. When Steven would come out, right, he walks differently, he acts differently. It was perfect. Once Mark took over, boom, back to his regular mannerisms going. Even when he's changing during the fight scenes, I love how they choreograph the fight scenes now, like
Hmm.
that last fight scene. The fight style is different.
Yeah.
Even his fight style is different. So, and I know that's a little bit not Oscar Isaac, but I just think how they really took these two parts, and we haven't even seen Jake, right? We haven't
No.
even seen them go into that. So it's going to be so interesting to see. They nailed two. What are they going to do with the third?
Well, that's the thing that I was reading up on it more just after last night because I was just so interested in it. I was reading a theory and that it was like that Moon Knight himself would actually be a villain because Khonshu obviously is like focus Mark and Steven's brain to like basically just be pushed aside and just have this Jake Lockley character, and maybe this explores maybe Khonshu's very brutal side potentially. I mean, who knows, obviously, but like
Yeah, yeah,
if it's just Jake Lockley though, to me that's more of a villain than like an anti-hero or something, even like an anti-hero really.
yeah. I think it's hard to tell right now.
Yeah,
I think he's not necessarily a villain because Khonshu's motives, right, is saying the protector of the night, right? He's supposed to protect those that can't
right.
really protect themselves. And but I will say with what you're saying, Jake is going to be one of these guys that is completely not pulling his punches. And
No,
he's going to get it how Khonshu whatever Khonshu says really is going to be done,
no,
right?
he's Terminator now basically. It feels like.
Exactly. So I think it's going to be interesting putting him in because this is a little bit of a side note, but the MCU is getting really powerful.
Yeah, yeah, we'll talk about that a bit more. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
you're completely right.
But with Moon Knight, right? So that's what I'm trying to say. Moon Knight's powerful. I mean, he is. I can't think of many people that could 1v1 Moon Knight.
No.
Uh, I can't. And then you throw him with Shang-Chi and you throw him with these other guys. It's going to be a very interesting dynamic. And I wonder how they're going to play the personalities in an Avengers movie or in an MCU movie
Hmm.
because that's three characters and one guy, right? So he's going to go back and forth. But I think we talked about this. I genuinely think what they will do, and maybe I was saying this for another character, but those personalities are going to play a big role. Because remember the Hulk. Remember Thanos beat Bruce Banner up so bad.
I was gonna bring him up, like another guy with kind of like a just like a
Bruce Banner.
Yeah, exactly, like a what do you? I just thought of the word and I said it earlier. A whatever the word is called, with a mental disorder or something. Basically, it's the same thing, really.
Oh, multiple identity.
That's one. That's it right there. It's kind of the same thing. I mean, it's a bit more extreme, obviously, with Moon Knight, but it's kind of the same. It's more the same thing, really. But I think for me, this was the pinnacle, as I said, of Disney Plus shows. I think for most of them, there were a lot of good parts, and then also I thought a lot of them kind of fell short in some places. But so we have Moon Knight, What If, WandaVision, Loki, Hawkeye,
and Captain America.
Winter Soldier. So those six. I think
Captain America was not exciting.
Yeah, actually, no, let's rank them. Let's rank them right now. Yeah. What's your number 6?
My number 6, I put Captain America.
Okay. Yes, I.
Can you agree with that?
You know what? I'll agree with you on that. I thought the ending was pretty good, but
just hear me out, because it's just bland compared to the other shows.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We have Moon Knight, who, if in layman terms, for someone that doesn't know who Moon Knight is he is a guy that is possessed by an Egyptian god. We have in the multiverse with Loki. I mean, the shows were so interesting, and I just thought, and maybe this just at a disadvantage for Captain America, but it's just a bland kind of story, right? Some guys are trying to figure out who the new Captain America is. This guy comes in. So I'd say 6, right? I'd put Captain America 6.
Okay.
And then you said you could agree with that?
I can agree with that. I just, like, for me, it was just that entire show just kind of felt a bit slow for me, at least. Like, I wasn't really into it most of the time. Again, I thought the ending was fine, but like it just felt like it was, yeah, again, like, who's the new Captain America? And it just felt like they kind of, I didn't like the villain either. I forgot what her name was, but like,
the villain was like that terrorist organization.
Yeah,
it was just, like, it was very like they were like holding on to Chris Evans and hold on until the very end, and they gave it to what's his name?
Falcon.
So that was okay. I just think it was all right. It didn't really, for me, it didn't really add anything to the MCU.
Yeah, no, right? I completely agree.
It's a kind of a regurgitated Captain America story. Mm-hmm. So I put that last.
All right, what's your 5th?
Put the 5th, let's see. The 5th, I would put. Ooh, this is tough. I'd put WandaVision.
Yeah,
I put WandaVision, but I liked WandaVision.
I honestly, we're gonna disagree with this, but I don't put Loki at 5th. I don't know why, but for me, it just. I was trying. I was trying to read a lot of stuff that people were saying about it, but like, you know, Neima might have talked about this a lot already, but for me, it just felt like that when I was watching it, from my perspective, and you know, my opinion can be a slightly flawed, I guess, but just from what I think is that, like, the whole timekeepers aspect. It sounds really cool, and, like, you know, obviously it's opened up the multiverse, so, you know, obviously it gives us a lot of possibilities. That's what Loki did, was open up the multiverse, essentially. But, like, how we got there, for me, I just didn't like the idea of, you know, if someone did something out of line in their universe, they were then, like, you know, captured or, like, quarantined or something, and then, like, thrown out there, or they're, like, put in, like, time travel or prison or something. To me, like, I just wasn't a big fan of that, because it felt like, for me at least, like, when I was watching, I was like, all that stuff with, you know, the Avengers and Iron Man giving his life, it was like, oh, if he did it a little bit different or decided to, kind of be someone, I guess, like of an independent thinker, then he would be like captured by the timekeepers and like, either, with that little stick thing just, evaporated.
Yeah, but to counter that, we talked about this the other day. They even said it. Like they said what that Avengers did, right? It had to be done. Because Loki even said, "Why am I getting penalized? The Avengers did it, these guys did it, why don't you get them?" But because literally the world was in trouble. The universe, not the world. The universe was in trouble, and that was their last play. It was how the timeline was supposed to work. So I didn't think it didn't take away from what Tony did and what Cap did and what they did in Endgame, because they had to do that to get here. They had to do it, or the universes will cease to exist. So I think it even shows that how badass they were. Like they were there. Their last play was to figure out how to save the world, and it was the time travel. They did the time travel, and the timekeepers did not intervene because it was the only thing that could be done. And it's the way Marvel puts everything together. Doctor Strange is sitting there. I got 14 million outcomes, only one works. And that was the one that the timekeeper said is the only one that will save their universe.
So you feel
And
like the timekeepers, like, in a way, told Strange what to do?
No. I don't think they did. I think it's all in the universe. Strange, he predicted it, right? He saw all the outcomes and saw there was only one way, right? He saw it was only one way. It was the path that they took. The timekeepers, I saw it as, did you watched the What If, right?
Yeah. Oh,
You know
yeah.
how he's watching, the overseer is watching and he's not intervening.
Right.
And then he finally intervenes because the world is literally about to just implode with what Ultron is doing. The universe is going to, the whole observable universe would have been destroyed if he didn't make a play.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I see it as the timekeepers made that decision to say, okay, like Kang the Conqueror really is the timekeeper,
Yeah.
is saying this is the only way for the universe to survive. And they have to do it. And I think that it was just more of a, with what you're saying, I think it's more of a respect thing to Tony and to them, because they were the only guys that could do it.
Fair enough. And with Kang, obviously at the end with Loki, he talked about how, like, there's other bad versions of himself.
Yes.
Answer me one question about this, because, like, obviously the timekeepers are, like, not in a singular universe themselves, right? They're in, like, I guess, in the plane between the multiverse, not like the one in Doctor Strange. Obviously, that's a bit different.
Yeah.
So then, how
But
is there
right.
how is there multiple Kangs then? If he's
Okay.
the keeper, the time traveler, or the timekeeper's master, but they're
Yes.
not really in between, and they're not in a universe themselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So he said, and this is the way Kang the Conqueror as a villain is. It's just like, I think he literally is like top 3 Marvel villains if you look it up. But Kang, this Kang that we saw was a good one, right?
Right.
He was saying in the years before that, 30 something, right? He was the only one to figure out how to tread through the multiverse, right? And once he figured that out, he knew, right, he could tread the multiverse, but then he realized, if I tread the multiverse, then I'm going into a different universe that I could be in. And he was such a smart, intelligent, like the Conqueror, that in every universe, right,
Yeah.
he is that brilliant, but in a different way. So every universe, it was supposed to be a thing of, I could go to a different universe and have peace and get what I
Oh,
need.
I think I understand what it is now, because that certain
Yeah,
Kang is from a universe, but there are other Kangs and other. Okay,
yeah.
that
But
makes sense to me.
he killed all of the other Kangs,
Right?
this
Yeah.
specific Kang,
Yeah.
because he knew himself, and he said, if I let myself keep going, running rampant, a bad version of me will do like terrible damage to the universe.
Right.
So he killed off all of his counterparts, and that's why he destroyed all the multiverses, because the multiverses are coming from Kang.
Mm-hmm.
because Kang figures out how to do the multiverse.
Gotcha. All right.
So then they have that linear timeline, and I liked Loki because Kang. I think they cast him perfectly. That I forgot the actor's name, but I love that guy,
Mm-hmm.
and they got him perfectly right. He's straight up just telling them. He's like, I know what you guys are saying. I
Yeah,
pretty much
he's
am
literally writing it as they're saying it. He's
writing.
literally writing it.
And the funniest thing is, he says he doesn't even know, right? They get there and he doesn't even know what's going to happen because they're there, and he just tells them, now there's two things you can do here. You can either kill me, and then a lot worse version of me comes in, and you guys are in trouble, or you leave it as it is, and then I'll maintain the timeline because he says, from what I've seen, a multiverse is just going to end in chaos because I'm there.
Yeah.
So I would put Loki my ranking. Watch. So I would have
Yeah.
WandaVision 5. I would put um Hawkeye 4,
Okay.
Loki 3,
3. Okay.
What If 2,
2.
Moon Knight 1.
Yeah, so mine is Captain the Winter Soldier, Loki, WandaVision, What If, Hawkeye, and Moon Knight. I really for some reason I just really liked Hawkeye. I thought
Yeah,
I thought it was good. What If was great. I thought again What If was great.
What If
Um,
was
that
awesome.
was awesome. I think like honestly like those top three I can go any other way for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, WandaVision I agree with you on. Like it's the bottom three. I thought it started off really good. Like I thought the first three episodes were the best of the series, but then I don't know it just tailed off at the end. Like
I think
the ending was just not good.
I didn't mind too much with Wanda. I give it leeway because so actually let's segment into Doctor Strange because now
Yeah,
that we kind of have WandaVision.
yeah,
I liked WandaVision because even though, right, like you said, it did kind of fall off at the end, and there was good fighting and things like that, but it could have been better.
yeah.
But what I liked was Kevin Feige and co. They went and they implemented a very solid story
Hmm.
for Wanda, right? They keep flooding Wanda with so much trauma that in Doctor Strange, when she plays that villain role because she wants to see her kids, I never had a moment of okay, this is a weak motive
Yeah.
because we seen it. We saw in Infinity War she had to kill Vision for no reason. I mean, or not for no reason, but she killed Vision and then Thanos just rewinded and blasted him again. So I mean, that's already, oh my god, you killed a person you love and it was for nothing. Number two, WandaVision, right? She's lost vision. She's kind of having this PTSD moment um, of I want my family, and that's even taken away from her. So now we're here, and Wanda gets that the Darkhold, and she is wanting to see her sons. And I'm thinking this trauma has now piled up so much. Wanda is on the loose now.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, like when it comes to Doctor Strange, like I think how I wanted to do this is that let's just kind of like go through the movie itself because there's so many points
Oh
in the
yeah.
movie where like I just want to talk about. So honestly, like to start off, like
Anyway, you minimize that word document right here.
yeah, I got you. All right,
All right, perfect. Yeah,
okay,
get started
yeah,
off.
yeah. So to start with Doctor Strange, obviously the first scene, guy, it's like an older Doctor Strange basically going through the what do they call it again? Was it like the not the
It
was
was
it
like
called the
the
merge?
you
I think
said
they called it the
before.
merge.
Yeah, the merge, the medium between
The multiverse, yeah. And they're going for the Book of Ashanti against like a thing that looked like from the Edge of Tomorrow with
yeah,
with a mimic and um obviously Doctor Strange dies and this girl America Chavez
yep.
basically blasts a portal through time or through the multiverse and ends up in what we know as Earth 616 or our universe, the MCU's universe, I guess if you want to call it that, um, with Doctor Strange, and that first scene was really like it was just kind of like, oh, we're here, we're in the shit already, like we're
Oh,
we're
yeah.
already fighting stuff basically. So I thought that scene was kind of good, but like it was kind of setting up for America's power really. And obviously Doctor Strange decides to go to Christine's wedding, which seems like a horrible idea. I don't know why you'd go to.
I don't know. They added that for the
Bro,
Hollywood effects,
man was getting dunked on for real. I mean, like,
down bad, down horrendous.
yeah, I did like the scene between them though, where she was talking about like how he's always having the one to hold the knife. I thought that was a good scene.
That was great.
Yeah, that was great. And then obviously then the next scene, America is coming in and she's being fought against this one-eyed octopus thing.
Yeah,
I thought honestly like that was a really good segue for the CGI. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter hate on Marvel CGI, and like, I've seen so many movies, and honestly I can't think of like one really bad moment in the MCU where there's bad. I guess like the Incredible Hulk movie wasn't great, but like that was what, almost 12.
2007,
Yeah, it was 12.
2006.
It was 2010, I think, 2009, one of the two. But like Marvel does a great job with CGI. They're great. It's like people are saying it's bad, but then they haven't watched Cats, which, oh my god, have you seen that movie, Neema? The Cats movie?
I heard how horrendous it is, and I will not expend my energy on that.
No, it's like there is this scene where it was, you could literally see like the actor's foot and then some like invisible thing and then like another foot under it. I saw it on Twitter. It was like, I was like, what is this? It was like made by a preschooler with Microsoft Paint or something.
Yeah, literally. You're
Yeah,
right. MCU, when it comes to that CGI, they don't miss on
yeah.
that.
I
But
love how Strange grabs the
yeah,
pole from the ground with like these, like like these like cool arms, and just takes the octopus's eye out, and that was a pretty brutal scene. That was really great.
yeah, it
Um,
was awesome.
yeah, and then
Yeah,
but then we segue into America's character, which I'm gonna be honest, I did not like her character. Like, and it's not, obviously like there's been a lot of discussion about LGBTQ and all that stuff. It's not, just prefacing, it is not about that. It is about solely
yeah,
the character, about why I didn't like her. I just thought that she has this incredible power, being able to travel through the multiverse. That's a big deal. This isn't some, I can shoot with a bow and
yeah,
arrow, or I can, I'm wielding a hammer. This is like
yeah,
multiverse travel. This is huge. This is a huge tool. And to me, the power itself, if you're gonna introduce that big of a character, needs to be explained on how she got it, because her scene where she does it for the first time, and she sucks her moms into this portal into wherever they go, basically. It's basically just not explain how she got it. And
yeah.
for and
I can agree with that. I can
yeah,
agree with that.
and I just felt like they should have at least attempted to tell us, like, you know how multiverse travel even starts with that, basically.
I
um
think they're gonna maybe make her a solo movie or something, because you're right. They, like we were just talking about with Wanda, but for America Chavez's character, there was no detail in her
no,
story or anything. She was just there, right? She just kind of showed up. We know she can travel multiverses, and that's it.
that's
So
yeah,
yeah, and I think, like you said, I'm prefacing that it's not about
no,
what
it's
the character
not.
is and who it is. It's my only concern with the character is, what do you do with the character? You give it a solo movie, and then how do you match it? Like we said, this group of MCU people is very interesting now. This is not the same guys. We have Moon Knight, Spider-Man, Captain America. We have Natalie Portman as Thor. We have Shang-Chi,
I
and
love
then we're
Shang-Chi
gonna
so
have
much.
Wanda is on a hiatus, right? But then we'll get to that. But then you got America Chavez, and I missed some other MCU characters, but then you got America Chavez, and it's like, okay, everything else is already sporadic, but
Yeah,
what are we gonna do with you? Because that tool, like you said, that tool is massive. Nobody else
yeah.
can do it.
No, well, and that's the thing about this movie, is that when I was watching, well, I was just like, when I watched a trailer for it, and I see this, see this girl kind of falling around Dr. Trent's, like, who the hell is this? Just to start off. And then two, I'm thinking to myself, like, I thought how this movie was going to go, because obviously you saw Spider-Man and how they opened up the multiverse and that. It was an accident with Peter tampering the spell. But then I was seeing myself like, oh, in between that time of Spider-Man and Doctor Strange's movie, Doctor Strange will find a way to, instead of making an accident, make it a real thing between going through the multiverse. So I thought that's how it would go. But instead they put this new character in America Chavez who, and I just feel like she was just thrown in there. And like to me it's more of, obviously, like we talk about representation of, LGBTQ characters and movies. To me, this one kind of like felt like an insult, because I've watched other great storylines, like, and we talked about this with Arcane, Vi and Caitlyn. To me, that's a great story right there, of two characters that are both women and both, obviously have feelings for each other. And I thought that was a great representation of that. And I mean, obviously, it's a big thing. Being the MCU's first lesbian character is a huge thing. And to me, it just been kind of being, I guess from a perspective, be like, oh, it's just being a normal thing's fine. And I can understand that. But to me, like, just kind of throwing it in there, I think they could have done, so either just not make her lesbian and make another character lesbian and make it like feel natural and make it feel like a big thing on a great stage. I think, which would be great in my opinion, just like Vi and Caitlyn was for Arcane, which I loved, as I said many times. And I just feel like that it was just that part was just kind of thrown in there, but the character itself, regardless of any of that, just to me didn't really add that much to the story, other than that she was just like a holder of power, basically. When in my opinion, it was basically used by Wanda in a different way with the Darkhold, was how she traveled in the multiverse. Obviously, was through different versions of herself, but that's how Wanda traveled in the multiverse with the Darkhold. And I thought that was more interesting than America Chavez's character, in my opinion.
Yeah, they're gonna use her. They're gonna use America Chavez.
They have to.
She's the key. They can't traverse through the universe or the multiverse without her.
Yeah.
And even if the only other way they could do it, like, is if in the what if, when the overseer steps in, because I think that's where this is going. We're gonna get to the point where they're gonna have to get different characters from different multiverses to stop Kang or something. But to continue what you were saying, right? For the Strange movie, the one thing I want to add before we continue on the points is, I liked the gist of the story. It was getting at Doctor Strange's decision, right? Mm-hmm. The whole idea of the story for Strange was that's the decision he made. He had to live with the 14 million possibilities, and the only one that works is Tony dying. He had to live with it. And you see in every point in the movie, and it just every time that guy comes up to him, Dr. West comes up to him. Hey, Steven, he said, Dr. West, how are you doing? He says, was there any other way? He said, no. They said, that was the best play we had. He said, well, okay, it makes you feel better, whatever. And you keep seeing the trend. The first Doctor Strange you talked about, he has a decision.
Yep.
I either kill America Chavez in the process of taking her power, because whoever's trying to get this power can annihilate the multiverse, or I can believe in this girl and get her out of here. And he made that decision. So then this is just piling up through the whole story of like, Doctor Strange is going to have another decision, and how will he use that previous decision that he had no room to operate dictate the rest of his life?
Mm-hmm.
Or will he make the right decision in that right play where at the end, right, we knows what he does and he doesn't decide to take her power? But I like that story because it was Strange against Strange. It was literally Strange versus himself, and on top of that, it's in the multiverse, so he's already facing himself. So it's like they nailed that. They genuinely nailed that, in my opinion.
Yeah, and honestly, like the more I thought about it, initially when I watched the movie, I did not like Wanda as a villain, just because I thought that, in my opinion, there was like no redemption after what she did in that movie, and also I thought that this would actually be her redemption movie after Westview. So that's what I was going when she clicks her hand and the whole orchard turns to this Halloween night basically. I thought my eyes, I was like, wait, I don't have my glasses on for this first viewing. Am I seeing the right thing? But then the more I realized it, the more I was like, oh shit, Doctor Strange was the one to give Thanos a time zone, thus making Wanda have to kill Vision. And I'm like, oh my god, this actually makes it so much better now, because there's actually some already some pre-existing conflict there that I didn't. I guess my brain didn't just see it instantly.
That's why I love that. Like we were just talking about the decisions. I was just saying the decisions you have to make. She has the grudge against one of his decisions.
Yeah.
And and the thing that I like about this is it's really strange. It's really him. It's no one else, right? He's not going to converse with anybody about that. Who's he going to talk to? I mean, he's the sorcerer. Like I mean, he's not the sorcerer supreme, but he's Doctor Strange. So the only person that can make that call is him. So he has to live with that call. And people will say from the outside, "Could you have done anything? Could you have done anything?" And he's like, "This is war. We were there, right? We watched all of it, so we know there was no other play. Tony was the only way to get out of there." So exactly, Wanda had a grudge inherently. She's like, "You're a hypocrite. You get to make this decision, and I can't do this. That doesn't seem fair." So, but right, so we were at the point where Strange, you just talked about they kill that octopus thing with the one
Yeah.
eye. They find America Chavez. They're realizing the multiverse. Then we skip some details, but now the multiverse is brought up, and he's like, "Oh wow."
Can I stop one second?
Yeah.
The scene at Carmitage where Wanda is just laying waste.
We're getting there.
Oh, we're getting there.
there.
Oh, you were gonna get there. Okay, good.
Yeah, we're gonna get there. So the multiverse, right? He goes to Wanda and he says, "Hey, Wanda, what do you know about the multiverse?" Because they're seeing that there's ruins, so it's a witch that's doing this stuff,
Yeah.
not a sorcerer.
Mm-hmm.
So then, right, her whole orchard becomes this hell on earth, and Strange is then like, "Oh God, like I'm gonna have to go up against Wanda." They go to Camartage, right? And then this scene,
Oh,
I loved Wanda because I'm like, she did not pull one punch the whole movie. She
dude.
did not. She did not. She came in there and just messed everybody up.
I mean, like the scene where Wong was like, reinforce your mind. I'm like, oh, dude, someone's gonna fuck up. And then when she goes behind the character like that, and she just says run, I'm like, dude, like like is this like you can just see like there's a dam and it's the water's pushing on it, and then one little log goes away and the whole thing just floods, and
she goes in.
She goes in, dude. Like I just that whole scene, I was like, this is like some like Darth Vader kind of shit here. Like
literally, and whenever Strange puts her in that like that mind trick, and she's stuck in that mirror realm, and then she's just like, okay, sticks her hand into the mirror, and becomes water. Like they hit that horror film vibe.
Oh my god!
Like she's coming out of that drum like just a witch. She was like it was like watching the Salem witch trials or something. She was coming out, neck broken, flying through the drum.
Oh, shit.
They're like, it was funny, right? So Jared, when we were watching the movie, right? This is the first time he saw it. And this is a little bit further in the movie, but
yeah,
we'll get there. But it's the part where the water comes down. Right?
Yeah,
when they're trying to buy some time, and she goes, "Is she dead?" And Jared just looks at me like. Jared just looks at me like, no, yeah, she's dead. She's dead. We've tried everything. She's waxed almost everybody in this universe, but some water is gonna kill her. Yeah, she's dead. Let's just wait here a few minutes and see what happens.
Oh, dude. Yeah, if you're wondering who we're saying, Jared's one of our good friends. We all went to go see the movie together on Sunday because him and Kyle haven't seen it, so we wanted to see it again. But yeah, the reflection scene was really good. That was like more of a it was a good thriller vibe, and like obviously Sam Raimi is so good at that stuff. So
it's a specialty.
Yeah, it's a specialty. So I'm glad that it was him that did it. Have it no other way. And then basically after that scene, America opens up a portal and to get Strange and America to was it Earth 813, I think it was. I think
it was like 832 or something.
Yeah, it was something like that. It was in where it's like you go on red or something. I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
But obviously we get to the sanctum in this universe, and then there's Mordo, and I kind of want to talk about Mordo now. In my opinion, I actually watched Doctor Strange 1 last night because I think that movie's really good, and the ending credit scene kind of sets him up to be the villain in the next movie, and in this one
Yeah,
he's just not used. He's used, he has a vote in the Illuminati, right? But
yeah,
to me, like I think the problem is that when they made that scene, they didn't. I think they didn't understand the scope that they were going to go to in 2022.
exactly. Yeah,
And like, so I'm
that's what I
like,
was
so I'm
thinking.
like, like you obviously you don't want to backtrack on yourself, but also like you kind of want to like, but I guess like in the grand scheme of things, in the grand scheme of the multiverse, this one post credit scene is not that big of a deal compared to like what's happening right then and there basically. So
Yeah,
like but like it just so it kind of saw that like there was I guess I wouldn't say I guess a not continuity issue, but more just like kind of throwing him to the side and not making him that much of a threat as he was, I think, really intended to originally.
yeah,
But
no,
yeah,
but you nailed it. You nailed it around the head. I think that's exactly what happened. I think they did not know how deep they were going to go in 2022. You know, I mean, this is years ago. Doctor Strange 1 was years ago,
2017, I think. So
2017 or 2018. So that's 4 years, and if you really think about it, they moved pretty quickly, right? Now that the streaming service is going, they put 4 characters and they have their own little storyline and put them. I mean, they're just expediting it, and I just think that Mordo's not strong enough.
no,
I
he
just
isn't.
he isn't. So but right, I agree. I think it was just more of like a he was supposed to be used, but then once we kind of got into it, Doctor Strange is having to have another movie, and it's the Multiverse of Madness, and it's got to be the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah,
So okay, so let's keep going.
yeah,
He's Mordo.
yeah, and
He's flipping out, right? It's
mhm.
like this guy doesn't like me. But then he's oh Strange, you told us you'd be here.
Go on
Goes in,
red.
go on red. He gets poisoned. He wakes up in that chamber with America Chavez, and Christine is the head multiversal scientist.
Yeah,
So if I'm Strange, I'm like, oh my god, I cannot escape this woman.
yeah.
And they take him right now to the favorite part, the
Oh my
Illuminati.
god, we can talk about this
There we
for
go.
hours. Okay,
There
yeah.
we go.
So the Illuminati scene. So to preface this scene, I have to give points off to the marketing team for Doctor Strange because I knew obviously there was an Illuminati scene, and I was having my theories on who they would put in there. So obviously there's already a set one in the comics, but like
Yeah,
with the MCU they can if you can do whatever, and people will be like, oh, that's cool, basically, especially when it's a multiverse as well. And the problem is the I watched a TV spot for it because I was really excited for the movie. The problem is that I was so excited that it actually ruined a part of the movie for me was that Captain Carter was part of the Illuminati because they this was before the movie came out, and like you can clearly see that I didn't see who she was fighting because it was going so fast, but I could clearly see the shield, and I'm like, why are you showing people this? A huge spoiler in my opinion that Captain
that's
Carter's in the movie. Haley Atwell, being Peggy Carter again, did great in Captain America: First Avenger all those years ago. Good to see her back on the screen. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I was just upset about that. So like when I got to that scene, I wasn't as I guess excited as I should have been to see
yeah,
Captain Marvel, Professor X, the other Captain, or I said Captain Marvel, Captain Carter, Professor X, and then the alternate Captain Marvel. And then of course we can now talk about the one character that you and I disagree on as Reed Richards. So when I saw Reed Richards initially, I'm like, oh shit, this is happening. John Krasinski's in this movie, and they preface him as the smartest person on the planet. Okay, so first off, smartest person on the planet in the world. That was clearly a lie because I don't like because like he was just telling Wanda how to beat them, and also Black Bolt as well. When they get to defining Wanda, him, Black Bolt, Captain America, and Captain Marvel, he basically says like Black Bolt can kill you with the sound of his voice basically. And Wanda's like,
yeah.
"Oh, thank you for telling me how to beat him basically." And then she kills Black Bolt like exploding his brain in his head, which I was like, "Oh shit!" To start off,
Pretty cool.
I didn't think. I mean, I figured Wanda can do that, but you just seeing it actually, it's like shit. And then he like reaches out to her to do something, I guess.
I wasn't doing anything.
Yeah, and then he basically gets reality stoned by Wanda. What do you say?
As they say, he got stringified.
Yeah, stringified basically, and
Uh,
and then he just dies, and then so the problem with me is that the Captain Marvel and the Captain Carter, those are characters that we've had in the 616. I'm gonna say the
yeah.
MCU members that we've had different versions of, obviously. But those are characters. When I see them die, I'm more of like, oh shit, Wanda's a badass, and instead of like, oh, that was kind of a cool character. You kind of killed them off so instantly.
Yeah.
But then that's the thing with Reed Richards is that this obviously we've had three Fantastic Four movies. One of them awful. The other two were okay-ish, but that was so long ago that it's like basically a new character now with John Krasinski, and now they're gonna do obviously like I would be in utter shock if they didn't do any Fantastic Four movies with him, and I'm assuming Emily Blunt will be Invisible Woman,
Yeah,
and
no, they
and
will do it. Yeah.
they will do it, and so seeing obviously it will be a different Reed Richards because that one's dead, but just seeing him die in the first 5 minutes of screen time, and then it's like now I had to shift over to be like, oh, you're actually really cool. We care about your character, but for me, it's just like I kind of already saw you die, and like now I need to see like basically the same version of you in a different universe. For me, and like we haven't seen any past versions of you like we have with Captain Carter and Captain Marvel. So
Yeah.
for me, it just feels like the character lost a bit. And obviously, we have different opinions on it. But just for me, it loses a bit when it comes to future projects. What do you have to think?
Yeah. So I don't agree with that, right? Like,
That's
so
fair.
Ian and I, guys, to preface this as well, Ian and I have literally, I think Sunday had a 2-hour
Oh my.
conversation about this. So we already know how we feel about this, but we're just saying it because this is one of the more heated topics we've had. But I didn't mind Reed Richards, and you already know that. But the reason I didn't mind Reed Richards is because I think there had to be a way in this multiverse of madness to show what else is out there, to
Hmm.
show what in the multiverse, what characters are out in the multiverse, what we're going to see. So in one of the multiverses, they're just pulling the Illuminati in, right? We got Illuminati in one of these multiverses, and you're like, whoa, that's really cool. And that means there could be multiple Illuminatis, right? This is just one universe. And I didn't mind it because I think that was a way Kevin Feige, Sam Raimi and them, that was the way for them to tease these characters. Because we knew, right? Years ago, Disney bought Fox. Okay. We got the characters. We
Hmm.
got the Fantastic Four characters back. The MCU got the X-Men characters. So, but ever since, right, everybody's like, wow, what are we going to do? Like, now we have even more of the MCU, and these are very pivotal characters in the MCU. So what are we going to do with them? And right, I think in an impossible task that the director had, or just Kevin Feige and the whole group, they have this task of we're already in motion. These shows, these movies, the MCU is rolling 100 miles an hour. It's like to throw these guys on the train while this thing is rolling as like you're saying, as brand new characters. The reason why, Moon Knight and things like that, like maybe he could have his own show, but I think that wouldn't be that good, right?
No.
It's like wouldn't be that good. So I just think what I'm trying to get at is I think it was a beautiful way that they teased us, the audience. Even if he died immediately, it was, our Reed Richards in 616 is going to be obviously the strongest.
Hopefully smarter
So
as
I'm not
well.
really smart. He was an idiot that movie.
Oh my God.
But I didn't mind it. I think it was a beautiful way to tease the X-Men, Fantastic Four, and then hey, they brought Patrick. What's his name? Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
They
Professor
brought him
X.
back,
He was.
and
I
and
thought he was great. I mean, like, and I don't mind. Like, his death was like a bit scary in terms of like how that whole that happened with how Wanda like basically
oh,
got
snapped
recontrolled her mind and snapped his neck. I thought that was cool, but like I was okay with that. But again, because we've had countless numbers of X movies with him in it.
But also that scene, because Arya was like, "Oh, my brother." And it's like, no, there's no way that he would lose to Wanda. And I'm like, okay, number one, Wanda's in a different zone.
Oh, I
Number
know Wanda's so much powerful than Professor
two,
Simon.
she's just like in a different zone. She is the Scarlet Witch. And then number two, if Professor X doesn't do that, Christine and America Chavez are getting clapped immediately. There's no hope for them. He bought them enough time, and actually, I think it gives him a credit. They gave him credit. He was able to enter Wanda's mind. He was able to sit there for a solid couple minutes in the mind of somebody that is literally controlled a whole like a whole city.
Yeah.
So she's going to control the multiverse now, and you're telling me that, oh, he's stronger, dude. He got into her brain.
That's good enough. That's good enough.
That's good enough for me. Like, right? That's good enough for me. So I think it's a good way to tease the characters, and we're gonna get these guys back again. We're gonna get them back. We're gonna get more. It's gonna open up the X-Men, and I think this was just a weak group. They were weak. They were conceited because this Illuminati, right? They didn't believe in Strange. The biggest problem to the multiverse is you. Okay? I will admit their Strange did mess up a few times. But they then had this stance, and even you see Professor X at the end, that's like he had the reason. He says, we have the Book of Ashanti, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have it, and we're gonna see what type of Strange you are. Rather than put you on the execution block while Wanda's just treading along, ready to go wax the whole universe. So, right, I didn't mind too much that scene.
No, I thought I thought Professor X is perfect in the movie. Like, again, like he's a
I think, and Patrick Stewart, but I think it was just a perfect way to tease that character. Say, hey, this is what we can expect now that we're going through the multiverse, and we're gonna have a Reed Richards. And Reed Richards getting beat up by Wanda is fine. You know what I mean? He's more of this, right? He's more of the brain. He's more of strategizing. So I didn't really, end of the day, we know John Krasinski's coming back. They're rumoring that he's going to direct the movie or the next movie.
Yeah, so, that was, I saw a rumor about that on Twitter a couple days ago. Then I think Emily Blunt will definitely be the Invisible Woman. I think she'd be great in it. She's great in everything that she does. And then the next scene is the tunnel scene, right?
I love that scene.
I love it, but then I also the ending of it's bad because Wanda's like flicking these things off left and these doors on right, like, oh, this door done, going through it. This door, now I'm just gonna keep it up real quick. Yeah. And then they finally get one to close on her, and they're like sitting there like, is she, like, where is she? Like, what are you doing? Run! Like she's I don't like. I thought that scene was kind of dumb because it was trying to be scary, but at the same time, like, you need to run. Like you've been running the past like hour and a half in the movie. Why have you all of a sudden stopped? And then like I liked her interest because I feel like that she maybe like went to another universe and came back and on the other side, and it was just like,
that was crazy.
Yeah,
and he drops the water, and then that's the scene where Jared was like, "Are you kidding me? You think that killed her?" So they go to the book. So they get to the book, and she's right behind them. She gets America Chavez. She blasts that book straight to hell. Then Strange and Christine are like, "Oh no, what the hell are we gonna do?" And they get sent through the multiverse again.
Yeah. By the way, rip to all the magical books in this movie. There was
destroyed.
we saw, I think on the screen we saw like 3, but then Wanda destroyed all the Darkholds of all time. So like we're talking like millions of books just burned to crisp. All of my readers out there in 2022 that don't use Kindles, I'm sorry. That was a rough scene for y'all.
That was a rough scene.
Yeah, but I mean, I thought that scene. I love the whole merge thing again. Like the whole Book of Ashanti was really good. Yeah, obviously. Go ahead. Sorry. Oh yeah, I was just gonna say. Obviously, she wasn't gonna die during the water scene, and like we talked about the ending scene about how she quote unquote dies later. But that was just different for me because it wasn't her putting the water on her; it was someone else, and I feel like that she was just kind of ready for it. But like, and then obviously after that, they're taken to what they called an incursion, right? It was like two universes like kind of I guess colliding together per se, and it's basically that Doctor Strange we saw in What If, right? It's essentially that one where he tries to find a way to get Christine back, and he can, and then he tries so much that he ends up destroying reality itself in his universe, and I think making an incursion as well. And I that's what I think I do love is that like how the Disney shows actually, especially in this movie really puts a spotlight on how they're not ignoring the Disney Plus shows. How they're like it's not like the Netflix ones with Jessica Jones and the Daredevil. How those have basically just been like they've been swept aside by Kevin Feige, thrown into the ocean basically.
Yeah, they're gone.
But like the Disney
Except
Plus
Daredevil.
one, except Daredevil, excuse me, yeah, Matt Murdock was in Spider Man, excuse me, but except everyone except him basically is gone is basically not in the MCU, and I think this movie did a good job of being like, hey, if you're gonna be rewarded if you watch these shows basically. Which I
Yeah.
thought, and obviously, like they were saying that, like, oh, you didn't even watch WandaVision to know what's going on. No, you need you want
Yeah,
to like
oh god.
you if you
You
didn't
have
watch
to
it, you
watch.
are gonna get lost because
Yeah,
Wanda's a completely different character at that point than what she
100%.
was.
And you can't watch the movie, in my opinion, you need that backstory for Wanda. You need that trauma. You need to, because I'm sitting there when she's sitting, I need my sons. I'm like, damn, I feel for you. I genuinely feel for you, Wanda. You've been screwed over so many times. You've been put in impossible situations. After WandaVision, it's tough to watch because you're seeing the first couple episodes and then you're seeing it's fake. And you're like, oh my God, she can't catch a break, and then she's just finally like, I gotta get my kids back. So you need that story to have like some more motivation, like, okay, I see where she's coming from.
Yeah, no, and then obviously with What If, we'll go back to where we were with What If with
That Doctor
that
Strange.
Stephen Strange with the the one eye in the middle kind of thing, inferring that he's what was it like? He's basically sucked in all those monsters essentially,
Yeah.
and has to powerball them. I thought that scene was really cool with how they were fighting with the notes.
I was gonna ask you because some people, I've had some mixed reviews. I've had some people tell me they didn't like it. I've had some
Really?
people tell me they like it.
I thought
I
I thought
love
it was
that
cool.
scene. I love that scene. I think it was awesome. It was just unique. It was
Yeah.
unique. It wasn't some bland fighting. The music is going. And but I will say my theory here is that Doctor Strange we saw in that incursion world is the one from the What If, right?
Yeah.
But not completely because we just saw him die in the movie,
Hmm.
right? I think the end game of what that Doctor Strange was in the What If, the origin story and everything else is that new Strange we saw, but towards the end when he controls the power, he's literally talking to the overseer.
Yeah.
He's literally talking to the overseer. He is the one helping recruit all those people from the multiverse.
Yeah.
Penny Carter, uh, uh,
Thor. It
Chris
was
Evans,
Thor.
Thor,
Killmonger. Black
Killmonger,
Panther.
Black Panther, so on, right? And he literally Ultron with five freaking Ultron with the five freaking stones
Yeah.
sends that blast to destroy the universe, and Strange just swallows it.
Yeah. No, I thought that was a good origin story for that Strange. Really, I thought that was solid. But like, I like that scene a lot with the notes. It's magic fighting. It's magic
Right.
fighting. Someone throws magic at you, you want to grab him back and throw it back at him. That's to me that's how it
Exactly.
is. And I thought that scene was really good. I guess it kind of segues into the end of it where basically Strange has to go back to his universe to I believe they called it was it Wonder Core I believe it was called where it was
Yeah,
like
and
basically
then he had to what was the term they used? The sleepwalking,
dream walking.
dream walking. Yeah.
Yeah, and then so he basically has a dream walk in his dead version of himself that he buried in the first part of the movie, which I thought was kind of cool.
I love that scene because he's like, how are you gonna get there? You need a living thing. And he just one eye opens and he's like,
Yeah.
who said they have to be living? And you're
Yeah.
like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, and I love the whole.
So,
It was like Frankenstein as well because he like the lightning was coming down and he came out of the ground and stuff. I thought that was really cool. And then like the whole Souls of the Damned like cape basically that he wore.
oh,
I thought that was
cool.
really sick. Um, but that ending scene. I think the ending scene was more. I like the more I think about it, the more we talk about it, the more I feel like that. Obviously, it's Doctor Strange's movie. It feels a lot like more like Wanda's movie as well because that ending scene where America Shaw was able to escape her like being magic shackled basically, and Strange basically just saying how to use her power, basically. So then she like punches a hole through the multiverse, and then she's right in front of her kids or the kids that she wants to be
Yes,
with, and it's like, and the kids see her as a monster, not her mother, and that entire scene, I'm like, it's just like kind of sad to watch, as Wanda basically, wanting her kids, but then they don't want her because obviously like that's not their mother basically. Their
yeah,
mother's on
exactly.
their mother's bleeding on the ground about 10 feet away.
Yeah, that was the only way they could have beat Wanda
Yeah,
herself.
yeah, it
They
was.
had they
That's
had to,
why.
and they
Go ahead. Go.
um
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
they set it up for that, and he made the right. Doctor Strange. I was talking about the decisions, and he had to make the right decision at the end. And he said he just kind of had that realization because Wong is like, kill her, like get the power, we're screwed.
Hmm.
And he just thinks for a second and is saying, I won't let this awful, impossible decision I had to make when fighting Thanos, play out the rest of my life. So he goes and he says, I trust you. Like I trust you, do what you have to do.
Yeah. No, and
Uh,
I think that was, I didn't like America's character, as I said, but that was probably her best scene, which is kind of like exposing Wanda to what would really, really kind of happen if she was to be able to hop into a multiverse and switch places with another Wanda, and that like, and just seeing her like, I thought the scene was very powerful when 616, ultra powerful Wanda was on the ground basically crying, and then
and
the
then
other Wanda comes up and it's like kind of looks at her. You can see like that all the pain that she feels herself has gone more obviously to the 616 Wanda than it has with her because she has her children, but I think like that Wanda, I think that was eight, so the 832 Wanda,
yeah, same
um
one.
was seeing that without my kids, maybe this is how I could be potentially.
Yeah. Um,
That's potentially it. And then obviously we come to the ending scene where she realizes that this isn't the right thing to do. I'm hurting other people in the way of what I'm trying to get at. And then this scene we talked about a bit where she obviously we were laughing a bit earlier how like the water was no way in hell
yeah.
gonna kill her. But to me, like the reason that I think she's dead is because it was her doing the action herself. It wasn't Strange putting down the
Yeah.
rocks. It wasn't anyone else. It was
Yeah, I
her.
know what you mean.
It was her own doing. I feel like since it was her own doing, that's why I think that she is dead. And also Elizabeth Olsen's talked about. I read an article with her about how she she said she'll do MCU projects, but I guess like the magic of the MCU is kind of lost in her a bit. And like to me, if you have an actor and actress who doesn't really like what they're producing, what's the reason for them to come back in future projects? And that's why also that's a some IRL reason that she's actually does because of I don't know if
It,
Elizabeth Olsen will do the
that
character
makes
again.
That
Yeah.
makes sense. I think in the comic, for those that don't know, in the comic, what happens is in this situation, Wanda destroys the Darkhold, and she does what she does in the movie. She implodes the mountain, that place that had all the writings engraved for the Darkhold, and destroys it in every multiverse, right? Every universe.
Yep.
And but she goes on a hiatus. And I think the hiatus is coming from she knew what she did was wrong. So she goes on a hiatus. And the funniest thing is, Hawkeye finds her in that mountain
That's a thing. Like,
years later. But here, listen to this. I was talking to, I think it's just Kyle. Oh no, I was talking to Blake, and either one is one of the two. And it was like I told them, Hawkeye is going to do that, and they're like, "That's interesting. Which Hawkeye?" And I'm like, I didn't even think about Haley Steinfeld.
yeah.
That would be crazy.
Well, that's the thing. Like back in Ultron, you know, he was kind of like Wanda's father figure in a sense. I was I guess like a part of me wished that he was in this movie just for that very reason. But obviously, with Jeremy Renner probably didn't want to be like in a small cameo role potentially. That's basically what it would have been. But I think his presence was missed a bit in this movie just because I feel like that whenever Wanda's in trouble, Hawkeye's been there for her. Like back in Civil War, where she was kind of imprisoned in the Avengers compound, he was the one to break her out. He was the
But I
one.
think they couldn't add him because
Yeah,
like
but then I
he's
think about it, like it would
the
just been too much. Like it would just been too
yeah.
much if he was in there. And like, what is he gonna? What is Mr. Bow and Arrow gonna do against Wanda? I mean, I'm sorry, like,
Um, no,
but
and so but right, we're at hour 15 right now. I want to at least touch on the other topics we want to talk about, unless you wanted to.
let me say let me say a couple more
Yeah,
things
no,
about
I was
this.
just gonna say, give me some wrapping notes.
Yeah, wrapping notes. The more I talk about it, the more I'm gonna give it a 7.5 out of 10. I thought
Come on, give it an 8.
I'm gonna stick with my 7.5.
Give it an 8. Let go of the Reed Richards thing,
No,
Ian.
it's also it's still the America Chavez thing, dude. Like at the end, she's what is it? She's basically now like wizard number 4 in the background because I don't think they know what to do with her character, man. Like literally, she's now at Carmitage doing the whole thingy
Give
majig.
it an 8.5.
All right, well, we're just gonna have to disagree on this, but I
Give it
also
an eight
thought
and a half.
I
That's
thought I'm not
arguable.
giving it 8.5. You can give it 8.5. I'll get a seven
I'm
and a
giving
half.
it.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, and also the post credit scene, the first one. I don't know who that character is. Do you know who that character was the lady?
Vaguely, I got to research a little bit about
Yeah,
her, but
I
I
don't
just
know
like
her.
Strange has the third eye. It
Hmm.
seems like he's in control and he's about to go do something else. And
Well,
now it's like, oh, let's
the
go.
the thing that she opened up was his fight with his fight with Dormammu. That's
Yeah.
where it was opened up to. What she did with her little like thing. It looked like they were going back to that moment. I don't know, I don't know what they're gonna do there, but I think that's what it was because that's the first thing I was like, oh, that's like the Dormammu dark dimension scene in the first Doctor Strange. So like I don't know if they're gonna go back in time and fix that or whatever or who knows,
I think
but
maybe the multiverse did something.
yeah,
And
that's what I'm thinking. Yeah,
no, but
overall good
overall,
movie. Overall good movie. I do obviously I have some gripes. I won't give it an 8. But
yeah, yeah. Oh,
overall,
yeah.
it's not. Some people are calling it bad. I think it's really good. I think most people are
It's
actually calling
good.
it good though.
I watched it 2 times. I watched it like Friday, and then I watched it Sunday, and I
Hmm.
I loved it even more the second time. So,
Yeah,
I think
I liked it a bit more the second time. I think I had give like a 6.5 on first viewing, and 7.5 the more I talk about it in the second viewing. So yeah.
yeah, so I think, the last thing I'll say is that they with this movie, and I think we were talking about this, they just nailed this movie for opening up things in Phase 4, in my opinion. I think that it couldn't have been really I mean, right, we have the critiques and things like that, but overall, it was a very solid movie for where Phase 4 is going.
Agreed.
Okay, so we just dived into Doctor Strange for about 40 minutes or so. Um,
Longer
but
than that.
let's get to this is Ian's segment here. He really wants to talk about this, and I do too. This is a great segment, but I'm gonna just say a few words. I'm gonna let Ian take over. So the next segment we want to talk about is Avatar. Avatar 2, The Way of Water.
Yes.
I'm excited for this movie because James Cameron, you can see, even though people nitpick and say, oh, it's 10 years and things like that. Even you said it before the other day. It took him 10 years to make the first one. For its time, it's CGI levels beyond. Like there's CGI movies
Incredible.
now that look like shit compared to that movie.
Yep.
So now I can't even fathom with the tech we have now what he's going to do in this movie.
Yeah.
And
No.
he's been working on it for a long time.
Yeah.
But I will say I'm very excited for the movie. I'm excited that the trailer doesn't have a lot in it, right? The trailer just shows the scenes, and that's James Cameron's specialty. The scenes and the iconic characters. I'm very excited for this movie. I know Ian and I December are going to go see it. Ian, just take this one away. Tell us what you
Oh
think.
my God. Thank you so much. Yeah. So when this trailer released, one, I was like, I thought it was another fake. I thought there's been like 10 trillion fake Avatar trailers. I'm just like, oh, someone's somehow caught on the trending and it's a fake way of water thing. But then when I watch, I'm like, this is not a fake trailer. This is the real shit. Because like you can, I mean, obviously with fake trailers you can see that it's complete bullshit. This one I'm like, oh, these are new scenes and this is like happening. So I watched it on Twitter initially, because again I thought it was complete crap. I was gonna watch like 15 seconds, but yep, scroll, keep scrolling, then I watched the whole minute, like 100 seconds. I'm like, I was floored basically by the entire trailer. And so I've now rewatched the movie twice since the trailer. I'm a huge Avatar nerd. And I've also watched a lot of videos on it. And we talk about how James Cameron this is basically his child now, essentially. He started working on the movie in 1995, and he was like, here's what I want to do, and the CGI animators were like, yeah, we can't do that right now. Talk to us in like 15 years when we have the potential to do that. And I've watched a lot of the behind the scenes stuff and the whole CGI thing and how it works, and it's just incredible. One, Sam Worthington and Zoe Saldana, how they just portray their characters, even with all this, basically looking at a sterile wall the entire time, how they're able to, basically like we're here in Pandora essentially on the set, and seeing that trailer, just comparing the side by two, like 2009, that the CGI is incredible, but looking at it doesn't even compare to the 22 one. Like just looking at Jake when he's on his what's the bird? I forgot what the bird's name again. But you can just see from comparing that one to when he first flew it in the first movie, just it's night and day comparable. And my favorite scene in that was the teaser trailer was the scene with Kiri, or the smaller girl avatar, when she's in the water and she's like smiling. I'm like, what is this like incredible it's just incredible CGI, and I'm like, we can this humanoid person is going through this like what looks like incredible real water, and like there's things moving around her. There's so much detail, and that's why again, you talk about the trailer. I loved how it showed us, it was really there. We're like, hey, here's what we've been working on the last 13 years and why it's been delayed. Obviously, it would have came out about 2 years ago if COVID wasn't a thing, but just here's what we've been working on the last decade essentially. And James Cameron talked about how the mocap stuff in the water was very difficult to do, and he needed time to even refine the technology that it was back in 2010, which was always pretty solid, to be honest. How he's refined that and clearly taken a step forward in that sense. It's truly incredible. Him and George Lucas are, to me, the leaders in CGI when it came to Jar Jar Binks. Obviously, character weird, but how it was the first ever CGI character like that in cinema history. How those two guys, those two friends, have basically evolved how we see the world through a computer, essentially, like that, is just incredible.
Take it a step further with those two.
Yeah.
Those two are two of the most brilliant people that has ever been in this industry. They see it. They have this gift, and with George Lucas, it was a gift of, I have the vision of Star Wars in 1970. I can't portray it like what you're saying. The CGI, I can't portray it in the 70s. So let me just reverse the order of the movies.
Yeah.
And with James Cameron, 1995, he's saying, I want to make this movie. And they're like, what the hell are you talking about? I mean, you think we can do this? 2009, he's pushing for it. So I just think they are just so brilliant, and they just have that, like, that's so Raven vision. Like, they see it. They see it. They just know where to go with this.
Well, the thing I like about it is that when George Lucas had a good line, was that if you're having a problem with the art or the CGI, you don't just try to figure out a way to like go around it. You go out and you make the solution yourself. You go make the technology for it, and that's what those two guys have done. Obviously, the prequel trilogy of Star Wars was cutting edge technology in terms of CGI. As those two movies are incredible with that. Obviously, as I said, 2009 Avatar, incredible, better than you can argue better than half the movies that come out now, to be honest. With just how all that's working. And obviously now with Way of Water, looks incredible. I'm excited to see, as I said, Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana. Also, Seymour Weaver's coming back. I don't know how she's going to be in the movie. And also Stephen Lang, who was the bad guy, Courage. He's back somehow, but he's in an Avatar now. And so I'm interested to see how that's all going to work. But just from a pure technical and looking viewpoint, it's incredible. I'm excited to see what they do. Obviously, there's going to be 3 more movies after this. It's now an actual an actual series, which I always waited for and wanted. Obviously, then the last one comes down December of 2028, so I'll be way old by then. But I mean, I'm excited now, beyond this Avatar journey through the next decade. But yeah, that's all I had to say. I'm so glad we just even though for a bit just talk about Avatar because it's gonna be great.
Yeah.
Movie's gonna be great.
Yeah.
I think to me it will break box office numbers again. It was highest grossing film ever until Avengers Endgame came out. I think it
Oh,
will.
dude, it's gonna annihilate.
I
It's
think
gonna annihilate.
I think it will. I think number two will take the top spot in my opinion.
Yeah, it's been waiting. Like when you have this much suspense behind a movie this vast, and like how successful the first one is,
So good.
or the first one was. Oh man, it's gonna be. They're gonna shatter numbers, but that is good. I did want to talk about Avatar 2 because just the visuals. I mean, I'm looking at the ocean. I'm like, this is amazing.
Bro.
I want to just swim in that water. But that's good for Avatar. Let's go into some NBA on the back end for our last segment. Ian and I were together Sunday, and I want to start this segment because, guys, my Celtics won. My guy right here, Jason Tatum. So we're there Sunday, and the way Boston opened up that game, I loved it, Ian. I loved it.
It was so eerie of Game 7 against Washington, in my opinion, back in 2018 when, or was it 2017, one of the two, where obviously Tatum, like Isaiah Thomas, played great in that game, but it was Grant Williams. He was Kelly Olynyk spirit pushed into his body, and he played incredible. He was incredible. I mean, that second half was just a complete avalanche. Giannis did not play well that game. He was 4-16 in the second half.
And without Robert Williams.
Without Time Lord as well. And we talk about obviously not having Chris Middleton there, huge loss obviously for them. I still got to give Milwaukee credit though, how they fought through this series. I thought this would be a 5-game series because they didn't have Middleton. I thought that not having him would be great, but would not be good, excuse me. But Giannis, other than really Game 7, had an incredible series. It had an incredible Game 6, but Jason Tatum really showed that he's that guy now. He to me now is, if they get to the finals, maybe they don't get to the finals, if he just plays well, to me he's a top 5 player in this league. He is a killer on offense. He's efficient. He's a great defender. He's a team player. He's a great leader. There's a guy that you would want to build your team around for years to come. He's a great guy. He played great. Jaylen Brown had a really good second half, had a really slow start, but he had a great second half. And, credit to Boston. They really put it on the second half. Because I was afraid like midway through the second quarter when they were down by, I think, 7 or 8. And the game was slowing down. And you can feel that the game's having grind. It's going to get really low scoring. Yeah. And if you're down by 8 or 9, it feels like you're down by 17 or 18 points. But they really pushed through that. And, of course, Grant Williams had 8 threes. He was awesome. And as we're recording this, they're leading by 8 last time we checked. And I believe they are, what's happening in their game right now, if I can actually see it. They should, hopefully they're still leading, to be honest, because it's only been about. So. They're it's 62-59 right now in Game 1. Ooh. But I mean, I think even with this game, I can still give a prediction for the series.
That's a no Al Horford and Marcus Smart tonight. So, yeah. But I want to talk about the Game 7 as well, because this Celtics team, right? Beginning of the season, I was one of the guys that said, people saying, "Oh, we're waiting on watching Boston." I'm like, they don't have it. They don't have it right now, and they need to make a piece. Dennis Schroeder's a great player, but he just did not fit in our system. He did not. It didn't make sense. But once we started going from trying to add more offensive players, it's like, wait, we have the offense. We have 2 of the greatest guard forwards, really, in the league. You got Jaylen Brown and you got Jason Tatum. On top of that, you've got Grant Williams that showed he can shoot the ball. I mean, what else offensively do you really need? You just need shooters. You don't need another ball handler. And when they added Derek White was a good pickup because he played the role perfectly. Mm-hmm. So then you just see our season completely turn around. But what I'm trying to get at is I loved what the guys, the fire in them, because they went and they got this home court advantage. If we're playing the Bucks in Milwaukee for Game 7,
it's over.
I don't think Grant Williams has 27 points. I don't think he does. I think they're at home. Those Celtics, the Celtics fans, they bring it every time. They bring the heat, and it was just an onslaught. Once Boston caught a groove, even we saw Peyton Pritchard froze Drew Holiday
Oh my
on
God, I
a
could not
dribble
believe that.
crossover step back, hit it. They're already up like 20 at that point, and it's a dagger. So I think this team all around, because with other teams, right? We saw it with Phoenix, and we're gonna get to Phoenix, but we saw it with Phoenix. When those guys went cold, their whole offense was annihilated. They had nothing. They looked useless. They looked awful. Boston, when they go cold, their defense saves them. Their defense, we like you said, we were down 8 points, 10 points in the second quarter. And then defensively, we just kept staying home. Like, okay, we're gonna get stops. Once the stops started coming, then the shots started going. And also, we believe in our players. That was one thing I didn't like when Kyrie was here, and he will admit it. If he talks about it, he's probably talked about it. He was not in the leadership role. He was a little conceited. He was a little selfish, and it didn't help our team groove. But now we're okay with saying Grant Williams takes 7+ threes in this game. Grant freaking Williams, Ray Allen didn't even shoot that many threes on our team. So, I mean, he had 8 threes in game 2 against the Lakers 2010, but Grant Williams is going for how many threes he shoot? 8, 9, 10?
He shot 18 threes and made 8 of them.
18 threes. We trust every guy. If he misses, it's like that mentality. When I would play ball, the mentality was like, offensively, it doesn't matter if you score or not. It was whatever. Offense, get it back for me on defense.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you get it back on defense, nothing happened. You didn't cause the turnover. They didn't score off anything that you did mistake-wise. So for the Celtics, I think that's good to talk about. They played amazing. My prediction for this series, and I want to hear yours. My prediction for this series, this against the Heat, is 6 or 7 Boston wins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the thing that really gets I have to say Boston 6 as well. Even even if they do lose tonight, is that the fact that Kyle Lowry's still not playing. That's a guy that to be honest, he didn't name that Philadelphia series because honestly, I'm at the point where just James Harden will just give you the win in a late playoff. He completely just sunk away in that second half against Miami. They just took control, and Embiid, is playing with basically a fractured face at this point. Can't do it all, and James was basically non-existent. So they didn't need Lowry for that series. But this series, they need him because he's a junkyard dog. He's a guy who is to me is a better version of Marcus Smart essentially, and they don't have him on the floor. I think that's going to really hurt Miami in the long run, just like how I think it hurt Milwaukee without Middleton. And I'm going to say Boston 6 just purely off the fact that I don't feel like Kyle Lowry is not playing. If Kyle Lowry is playing, I'd have to probably lean towards Miami because they have the home court. But I think it's Boston series to win in my opinion.
Heat played the Hawks first round, right?
Played the Hawks and then they played the Sixers.
So, and I say 6 or 7 for Boston as well because Miami has not faced a defensive team like this in the playoffs. They haven't.
No,
they haven't. The Atlanta Hawks, their defense is not good at all. All right,
Philadelphia's is way too inconsistent for anything.
Philadelphia is just a shit show in the fact of we got James Harden is shooting 1 shot in the second half, 2 shots in the second half. It's just impossible. It's unfathomable. Number 2, Joel Embiid is just his face is hurt. I mean, how much defensively can you really get out of Joel Embiid? I mean, you got to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
And then other than that, there's no one.
But you got Matisse Thybulle who you can't keep on the floor because he can't shoot threes.
But Thybulle's useless because he will get some stops, but that's not their problem. Their problem is they can't score.
Yeah, and I thought Danny Green actually played well. Played well the series. Played well for the first back half. He played games 3 and 4. He was great. But Danny's at an age where you can't really rely on him for that, and
no, you
can't. The Sixers are just completely imploded. Remember, I think we said that they would take it. I thought they'd win in 7. Miami did with a blowout in Game 7, but they blew them out in Game 6. But I mean, yeah, just to, obviously, like we can talk about Phoenix, but just as from us for Philadelphia, are really sad into the year. And honestly, like I don't, they're really screwed because either they don't give James Harden the max or they let him walk. So I think Philadelphia's screwed. Boston's in a really good place, and I think Miami's also in a good place. I think if they lose the series, they've got a lot of good guys. That team's really good. Once they get Kyle Lowry back, I think they're going to be solid as
Yeah.
well. But
This
again,
is going to be a defensive series. I think Boston matches up very well with Miami.
they do, yeah.
It's gonna be a dogfight, but really, and this is no disrespect to Miami because Miami's a phenomenal team.
Yeah.
But I was really scared of Milwaukee even without Chris Middleton because the halfback dive. I mean, Giannis going for 40 and 20. I mean, come on. I mean, it's like you can't stop that.
Can we talk about that for just like a minute? How like it just seems like when Milwaukee's down by 10, Giannis then goes into this halfback dive mode, as you said. And to me, like, people talk about how James Harden was boring to watch earlier. I'm like, bro, this man's just like, barreling to the rim with, basically out of control and just getting bailout foul calls every single time when like I feel like Boston's trying to get out of the way most of the time, but he's just like going in there like, stumbling and bumbling. And, I just, to me, like,
he had a spin move. Literally, he spun, took 2 to 3 steps off the spin.
oh my,
and then
bro,
just
how, like, he took like 4 steps in that play. I'm like, who's watching this game for the refs? But no, like, I mean, that's a little bit of a sidetrack. Like, it's ridiculous how people always called Harden boring when he was in prime form in Houston. When Giannis is doing like basically the same thing, but just at the rim, essentially getting these ridiculous foul calls.
They missed Chris Middleton. They missed him.
They did.
They needed someone to generate the offense as well.
Yeah.
I think that's good for the Celtics, right? Okay, so we both agree 6. I say 6 or 7, and you say 6.
I say Boston in 6. Yeah.
Okay, I can get behind that. So let's go to Phoenix because we talked about this right as it happened. I mean, we literally, Ian and I watched the whole game together.
I was watching the game with Neima. I'm having a conniption the entire time because I'm like, I couldn't believe what was going on. I knew that they couldn't guard Luka. That was already apparent from game 3. I just couldn't believe how you won 64 games throughout the entire regular season. You basically on the road for the series showed no fight. And then in game 7, you're just completely dismantled. And
at home,
you lose 123 to 90, dude. 27 points in the first half. 27.
50 at home. They're getting booed. I mean, get out of here.
You're getting booed in a game 7. A game 7, dude. Not some backwater first round playoff series game 4 where you're down 3-1 or 3-0, excuse me. Like
they just didn't want it. They didn't want to win.
It's like they were shell shocked or something. You can't explain it because you're at a game 7. A guy like Chris Paul wants it. I know he wants it. He played in Houston. He's played with Phoenix, obviously in OKC. You can see his want factor. For him and D-Boat to come out like that was completely embarrassing. And I felt like, I'm not a Suns fan, but I did want them to win just because I'm a big Chris Paul fan. I was embarrassed. Like, it's not even my team. I was embarrassed. I'm like, this is happening. Just on the road, game 7, it's basically over at, after the first quarter, basically.
Yeah, awful. Awful.
And it's, the thing is that if it's the road team, it's still embarrassing, but it's like, that stuff can happen when you're on the road. Things get out of hand. When you're at home, though, it's just it's a different type of embarrassment. I still think that Phoenix shouldn't change anything this offseason other than I think that Cameron Payne had a really bad playoffs, but he was great last year in the playoffs. So to me, unless they want to trade for Eric Gordon for a first-round pick, I don't see where they can really upgrade their team that much other than that you just got to play better, essentially, in my opinion.
I think DeAndre Ayton's going to leave.
I don't know. Well, he can't. He's an RFA. He's a restricted free agent. They're gonna match any offer he gets. I don't think he's gonna leave. Even if he's presented an opportunity to leave, I don't think he will because to me this Phoenix team is still one of the best teams in the league. They just, I think when the playoffs started, you just started to see some weird cracks in that Pelicans series. Obviously, Devin Booker didn't play most of that series, but you can just see how New Orleans is playing well, but for them to push it to 6 games, I was a bit concerned, and then I didn't get concerned once they were up 2-0 against Dallas, but then just their performance on the road this playoffs was truly shocking, but I don't think that they should change that much. If you can try to find an upgrade for Jay Crowder, maybe I'd say maybe
Yeah.
slide Cam Johnson to that role now. Maybe give him those I guess smallish 4 minutes I'd say that Jay Crowder got. But other than that, I can't see where they can really upgrade the team. You got one of the best point guards of all time. You got a great shooting guard in Devin Booker. You got one of the best defenders in Michael Bridges in the league. You got DeAndre Ayton, who's a great center, and then you obviously that 4 spot can be a bit up in the air with Jay Crowder. I think their bench is great. I don't. I think that the time to overreact is not now, because we
And I
saw.
don't think they should. I don't think they should overreact. But my only concern is, I'm with you. I was embarrassed too. But my concern when it comes to that is when you go play next season, every team in the West is going to see that and say, you guys aren't all that. Because with Phoenix, whenever they went to the finals with the Bucks, we're like, these guys are legit, right?
Yeah,
These guys are legit. I don't know if you can beat a team like that in 7 games.
Giannis is
Yada
great.
yada
It was really
yada.
just it was great Giannis in that series, really.
Yes, you can, they played phenomenal. Then you get to this year and you see kinks in their armor, and then they get absolutely obliterated in Game 7. And if I'm any West team and I'm Dallas, right? You're now giving me that confidence
Mm-hmm.
to say, "Hey, I can beat up on you. I saw you lose by 50. I literally saw you lose by 50 in Game 7 at home.
Yeah,
It's like, well, I can beat you up. And so I think that's where they're going to get because confidence in the league is everything.
yeah,
When players have confidence, that's why they go on streaks and that's why they get on fire. And with a team, if they have confidence over you, they need to get that. And for their defense, they need to get that somehow. They need
yeah.
to get that back. And maybe if they have to win another 65 games to do it, so be it. But now
And now, and
you've put yourself in
I
a
think for
situation.
Phoenix, the first 15 games of next year will be telling on how this will go. And is there any like shards of the explosion still raining down the franchise? Because if they come out slow next year, then the chirping is already pretty erratic right now. It will get to another level if you start off,
Oh,
8-7 or 7-8. If to me, next year those first 15 games they need to be on. They need to play well, and people will dismiss it they'll like, oh, they played bad in the playoffs last year. They'll probably find a way to choke it this year in the playoffs. For that locker room and that team, they need to have a hot start to be like, hey, we just had a really bad series and it bit us, and we had a really bad Game 7. We play like shit, but we're still here. We're still the best. We're one of the best teams in the league, and we can win it this year if everything goes right. And to me, as I said, Phoenix should not change a thing unless they can only if they're only presented with an upgrade. Not like
yeah.
obviously that sounds obvious, but working around the margins is not what they should. They should either keep the same team or be like, hey, we can get Eric Gordon for Cameron Payne. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Something like that. Other than that, to me, they shouldn't change the team.
I think that's CB3 because we read that stat that was ridiculous, where it was like how he's like 0 for something in the playoffs
Yeah, like
or
his Game 7s are really bad, basically.
yeah, like he hasn't won one. So
But he's
Tom
won one at
Crystal,
least. But like it was like
Kyle
one
read a
in six or
stat.
something.
Kyle read a stat the other day, and it was like 0 for 14 or 0 for 10 or something. It was, and we were just like, oh my god,
It was
is he
something.
a
It was some
joker?
ridiculous number where it's like you just can't believe it, basically,
Yeah,
essentially.
exactly. So, but I think that's good on Phoenix because we have a little bit of time left. I think let's talk about Golden State and the Warriors, or I mean Golden State and the Mavericks,
No, yeah.
and let's give a little insight and then give some predictions, and then we can wrap up.
I don't like the series at all because my fandom hates both teams, and what makes me even more sick to my stomach, I guess, call me haters, is that I think Golden State's gonna wipe them this series. And no disrespect to Dallas, I just think that Golden State has found that fire again they found that they had about 3 years ago. Clay,
Yeah,
Steph, and Dre are playing great right now.
Jordan Poole.
Jordan Poole. They have Jordan Poole now. They have home court this series. To me, like, you never know in this league. This could be Dallas's best opportunity to win a championship with Luka, and then their door could be shut for the next 10 years. Who knows? But for
Yeah,
me, obviously, this Golden State isn't nearly the same team that it was with Kevin Durant when they played the Rockets back in 2018 or
yeah, no.
2019. Not even close to the same team, but they're still pretty damn good in my opinion. I don't know if they'd win the finals, but I think they have the series wrapped up in 5 in my opinion.
Yeah, I think
I think Curry goes off for about 30 a game.
yeah, I don't think the Mavs can guard them because they guarded Phoenix well, and Phoenix just they didn't look that good,
And
right?
the Dallas is a great defensive team. They're one of the best in the league, but I just don't see.
They just don't match up well. Like,
Yeah, I agree. I just don't like. I mean, honestly, they probably put Dorian Finney-Smith on Steph and Clay to try, or maybe that's the thing. They'll probably like. You have to realize that Jordan Poole is there, but I think how they'll start the series, they'll have Dorian Finney-Smith on Jordan Poole or Andrew Wiggins, whichever one they start. Should be Jordan Poole, by the way. And then
yeah,
they'll have Brunson. They'll probably have Brunson on Steph, I'd say, and then they'll have Luka on Clay. But to me, it's just you know how Golden State plays. They are moving constantly. They're weaving.
kind
That's
of
gonna
like
tire out
watching
Luka, man.
Houston. Isn't it kind of like watching Houston play the Warriors again? In
It
a
is.
way.
It's the same matchup pretty much. Like you've got a team with
Um,
one big star that does a lot of ISO stuff, and you got shooters around him, and a good defensive team around him as well. But I think that Luka's gonna get tired out after a bit for the series because he's got to chase Steph and Clay around. Obviously the Suns move well at the ball. This is a different animal, dude. This Golden State team, it's the relocation after a rebound, the little relocation after someone's dribbling in the lane. It's the little stuff like that Golden State has protected so well over the last half
and
decade.
and yeah, exactly. You nailed that one. And I think like if it's like Houston, right? Houston when we played them, and the reason why I'm with you, why I think Golden State's going to kind of handle Dallas is we've seen what happens when you try to beat Golden State at their own game. We've tried it. We literally tried it every year. We tried to outshoot them. We tried to do everything because you can have a really great defensive team, but that will help you in some games. But you cannot stop that when they start shooting. You cannot stop the
The
onslaught.
only way to stop
So
Golden State is for them to play your game, and with Houston and Dallas, that was the ISO game, and like they made KD and Steph go ISO mode that entire series back in 2018, and it worked for them. They played great defense and they got to a game 7.
yeah,
Dallas needs to somehow find a way to do that now, but it's gonna be like, and it's no disrespect to Kevin Durant, but with KD, it can be you can kind of easily delve into a ISO game a little bit easier because you got KD. But with Steph and Clay, they're trying to try not to do as much ISO as they can. So,
and
but
Jordan Poole,
and
it's
Jordan
like
Poole, and so they have to realize they have to try to figure out a way how to get Golden State in an isolation situation. That to me, that's where they're weakest, in my opinion.
yeah.
That's Dallas' strength, but I think that's Golden State's biggest weakness when the
Okay,
ball
so
stops.
we've talked a lot about this. So let's give our predictions. What do
I
you
say
think?
Golden State in 5. I'd say Mavericks win game 4 though. So it's 3-0 and then they win 4 and then Golden State goes up the Bay and finishes in 5 and they go to the
I
finals
think 5
again.
or 6 too. Golden
Yeah.
State.
I agree with that.
Um, but I think that's good for the Mavs Warriors. What do you have anything else you want to put in before we kind of
No,
wrap
man,
up?
I'm good. Excited to watch the rest of the game. I can check what the score is right now. I'm assuming Miami's up 76 and 69 now with 4 minutes to go in the third. So we'll probably go and watch that for a bit. But yeah, I got nothing else today. Guys, thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoyed just as much as we did. This is a very long pod, this one. We're about an hour and 55 into recording. But yeah, I will see you guys probably tomorrow on the stream or whenever you guys watch my videos or streams or whatever. Neima, they'll see you next week on the pod. We'll probably talk more basketball, obviously, and we'll probably talk about some other stuff as well. But thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you all in episode 3. Have a good rest of the day or night. Peace out.
See you guys.